Welcome back to the final episode of ASEE TV. Though the conference is beginning to wind down, ASEE TV is doing no such thing. Today we're exploring the future of the ASEE. We'll look at the path universities have chosen, the tools available for educators, and the vision for engineers in education. We'll be speaking with multiple ASEE executives in order to find out what the future holds for engineering education. Then we'll travel to the universities shaping this future through their innovation, inclusion, and impact. And in case you wanted a little taste of what 2023's ASEE will look like, we've got that too, all here on ASEE TV. I'm Iris Perez. Let's get learning. ASEE TV is your source for everything engineering education. Be sure to catch ASEE TV on TVs at the Minneapolis Convention Center, in select hotels, and of course, you can always find us online at the ASEE website, YouTube, and Twitter. Our first conversation today is with ASEE's incoming president, Jenna Carpenter, who will paint a picture of the future of ASEE and the field of engineering. Jenna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
So first, please explain your title and how you're involved at ASEE.
So I am Jenna Carpenter, currently president-elect of ASEE. I've been president-elect this past year, will be president this next year, and have been involved in ASEE for almost 25 years. I've served as, of course, an author, a program chair, a PIC chair, division chair, lots of roles, so enjoyed it.
What was your motivation to run for president of ASEE?
Well, it gives you a platform, an opportunity, a voice, right, to speak up for things that we ought to be doing in engineering education. I'm a founding dean of engineering, so doing a lot of innovative things in my day job. And of course, we have many ASEE members and institutions doing the same, but just a chance to give a voice to and advance those sorts of efforts.
How will that motivation continue in your role as president?
So as president, I'm going to focus on an initiative that I'm calling weaving students into engineering instead of weeding them out. You know, historically, engineering unfortunately has kind of a reputation for sort of weeding students out. You know, we tend to accept students that have had a lot of opportunity, so they come well prepared, and we don't do a very good job of attracting, retaining, educating students that haven't had opportunity. So we filter for opportunity, not ability. So we'll be working with ASEE members and other engineering organizations to try to disseminate information about best practices. We know a lot of things that work, but a lot of institutions don't do those things. So what are some of the hurdles? How can we help institutions find that information and implement those programs?
What is your mission as ASEE president?
If you look at the students we've historically attracted in engineering, they continue to shrink as a percentage of that population, and the students that we've struggled to attract are growing. So we simply have to figure out how to attract, retain, and graduate a much more diverse cohort of students. So that's my mission.
How will you accomplish this mission?
So I've already had some brainstorming sessions with a variety of ASEE experts this spring to try to begin to collect information, decide what should we do, what kind of information should we disseminate, what works, where are some gaps in our knowledge. We'll be partnering with the Engineering Research Visioning Alliance to do a listening session with students. And we're working with the National Academy of Engineering and hopefully going to have a conference this fall to begin to convene people to sort of flesh this out and then develop a proposal and engage institutions in doing exactly that.
What are some of the primary issues in engineering that you're working to solve?
Again, if you look at the way that we tend to attract and admit students, you know, we want students that have had a lot of math and science preparation or that identify with engineering. And there's so many misconceptions about what engineering is. It's much broader than most people think. But the average person, you know, doesn't get that. There's still a lot of biases and stereotypes about who can and can't do engineering, as well as, you know, what engineering is. So trying to combat those, because they're society-wide, is really, really challenging. So trying to get the message out about what engineering is, who can do that, and they get institutions to change how they admit and educate students, so we attract and educate a much broader spectrum of students, not those that just walk in really well prepared.
So how has engineering student admissions worked to weed out students rather than weeding them in?
You know, a lot of times institutions expect students to have a high level of math and science prep in high school. You know, I came from a rural high school. My school didn't offer calculus. I could have taken it if I wanted to. So there are a variety of reasons why students might arrive underprepared. And so if you don't give those students a chance, right, then they really can't join engineering. Some institutions will admit them, but send them across campus to take a bunch of courses, but we know that doesn't work. They're not going to end up wandering back 2 or 3 semesters later. So we need to engage students in engineering from day one, have a lot of entry pathways instead of a single, very narrow pathway, right? And help students understand what engineering is and the kinds of ways they can make a difference in the world. Without really meaning to, many of the ways that we educate students are still sort of based in that weed out culture. A lot of times the curriculum is very competitive, things go very, very fast, students don't have a lot of chance to learn. A lot of institutions still use a lot of lecture and theory rather than hands-on, which gives students a chance to understand what they're really doing. So all of those things sort of weed students out.
Jenna, I truly can't wait to see what your presidency has in store. Thank you so much for your time. Up next, let's head to NYU, where experimental learning is seen as essential in equipping the next generation of engineers.
The Makerspace at its core is a prototyping lab, so that means we have all of the tools and machines you could imagine to work on projects. We focused on helping students learn how to use the equipment here for themselves, empowering them to be able to really create whatever they would like. Some of the important elements or resources here in the Makerspace are projects like the Urban Food Lab, the Robotics Lab, our machine shop, the Maker Garage, and our integrated advanced manufacturing resources. It's open to all of NYU. It's not just for engineers. And we really encourage students from all different schools and majors to come into the space. That really contributes to that feeling of creativity and that community of collaboration.
I would say that Makerspace is really the heart of our School of Engineering. It's really what gives you the idea of what we do here.
Wow. It's these disruptions to the classical forms of education that are finding new and innovative ways to raise the next generation of engineers. I'm here now with Norman Fortenberry, the Executive Director at ASEE, to discuss how ASEE contributes to the next generation. Norman, thank you so much for joining us.
It is great to be here. I appreciate your making the time.
So first, let's jump into your title and how you're involved at ASEE.
Sure, I'm the Executive Director, so I am the Chief Staff Officer. I manage ASEE headquarters, coordinating all the staff support to the wonderful activities that are led by our volunteer members.
And tell me, what are the goals of ASEE? I know there's a long list, but...
There's a long list of goals, but our vision is excellent and broadly accessible education, empowering students and engineering professionals to create a better world. So keep the vision in mind. All of the goals flow directly from that vision.
Tell me, what are some of ASEE's notable accomplishments?
I think we have had some significant accomplishments in terms of growing our grant activities at headquarters that allow us to support our members and others in a variety of activities supporting faculty and student professional development, supporting leadership activities at the National Science Foundation and some other agencies, support for fellowships and scholarship programs for students, not only for our members but beyond our membership. So a variety of activities all in the area of supporting engineering and science education at all levels.
Those are some huge impacts. Can you tell me a little bit more about these accomplishments and how they've affected engineering education?
In addition to direct student activities, it's important to empower and enable faculty to be more effective in their activities in the classroom. And so we've recently started our Delta workshops, and in particular we have deltas for future faculty and for early career faculty. And the ones for the future and the early career faculty emphasize such things as, how do you set up your lab? How do you maintain a coherent stream of research across different funding streams? How do you go after different funding streams? So these are things that facilitate the ability of faculty to do their jobs, enabling them to spend more brain power on what they do with their students, both students in the classroom and the students that they're supervising as grad students.
So let's talk about community colleges. How does ASEE work with community colleges?
So community colleges are an important part of the educational continuum. Many students, an increasing number in the U.S. By design in many states, are not going straight from high school to a four-year college period. They are taking time off, or going to a community college, or those who take time off come back to a community college. We want to be much more active in our outreach with that sector to demonstrate how ASEE can provide a supportive infrastructure for their faculty and for building better connections between two-year colleges and four-year engineering programs.
That's a great segue into what initiatives does ASEE have?
We want to be much more purposeful in our interactions with a wide range of minority-serving institutions, so HBCUs, tribal colleges, Hispanic-serving institutions, other minority-serving institutions which don't fall in those categories. That's where the demographics indicate an increasing population of students are going to be, and therefore the faculty teaching those students are going to need to access our services. We are looking at the role of scholarship, a scholarship not in terms of money to go to school, but scholarship in terms of faculty creative activity, how that activity is recorded and documented and archived.
So with so much impact and with everything that ASEE is involved in, that requires money. So let's
Yes,
talk
it does.
about member dues.
Sure. We are in fact planning a relatively modest, when you look across the different categories, about a 3% increase in dues both for institutional members and individual members. I would point out that our last dues increase was on the order of 5 to 6 years ago, so it's been a while. And these dues increases for the institutions will kick in October of 2022. They're on an annual cycle. Individual dues also would not start before October 2022. So those who renew before then could grandfather under the old dues. We hope to maintain the level of service given the pressures, the cost pressures that we're facing. So our costs, like everyone else's, are increasing. Our revenue streams have been relatively flat, and to continue to provide the same level of service, we're going to have to increase our revenue stream so that we can maintain that level of service.
Norman, thank you so much for your time. We're now introduced to Siemens Cooperates with Education, a program that partners with education centers to elevate their technical expertise to the digital age.
There's a bigger need for collaboration between industry and colleges now more than ever. Siemens has a great organization that is able to not only deliver us the components and the actual tools that we need for student learning, but they're also great at giving us advice as far as saying what other industries are using.
We are working with Siemens very close, we can say shoulder to shoulder, because we have a lot of software and hardware that they provide to us in order that the students can be trained in that direction.
We use the Siemens PLCs. We even use a few of them with our Kawasaki's. They're in pretty much every big automation project that we have here.
It's a confidence builder if you can make something work and see it work in a lab, and then you can convey that to an interview and get a better job. Automate processes, make things work. It's one of the most fantastic jobs you'll ever have.
Now let's head to the University of Missouri, where engineering leaders work to find solutions to the problems of today, as well as the challenges of tomorrow.
Since our inception 150 years ago, the mission at the College of Engineering at the University of Missouri has always been the same. Since that time, we have been creating leaders, and we've been doing that by educating engineers and by advancing technologies that have changed the era in which we live and established a lot of formative groundwork for the era to come. We work on relevant things. We work on things that the world needs, and our students are exposed to that every day, and we will continue to work on those things for our state and for the nation and for the world. I think students should choose Mizzou Engineering because we have a great track record of producing leaders. And we are a place where students can grow. We offer unique features of leadership development that other institutions, quite frankly, don't offer. And we're proud of those features of our education. Our engineering is stellar, but here at the University of Missouri, we offer you engineering and more.
When you join ASEE, you tap into a network of people and organizations that are passionate about engineering and engineering technology education. Our resources, from conferences to publications to research, give our members what they need to do their job better and build their careers. Whether you're a K-12 teacher, college faculty member or administrator, or an employer, ASEE has products you will find valuable. Visit us at www.asee.org.
The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign National Center for Supercomputing Applications has become a pioneering innovation center, uniting academic institutes and global communities in search of the answers to the world's most challenging problems. Let's take a look.
NCSA is advancing the use of computing to solve problems in sciences, engineering, humanities, as well as working with industry.
DigiMat stands for Data and Informatics Graduate Intern Traineeship in Materials at the Atomic Scale. In this program, we train PhD students at the interface of material science and data science.
Our PhD students get exposed to industry problems and problems at national labs. They get a broader view of what researchers are working on and how their own skills can contribute to solve these more challenging and broader problems.
It's targeting this intersection of two really different fields and combining them for the first time and teaching the next generation of scientists and engineers on how to best harness data in materials work.
We'll help plant the seeds for a new way of thinking about materials and data science and all the partnerships that come out of that.
I'm joined now by Dr. James Holley, and we're here to discuss racial inequity in engineering and the issues that a variation of understandings presents. James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. First, I wanted to uplift the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and how he so eloquently captures the problem of shallow understanding, which I think is common in engineering education. You have people who claim that they want to do good things and address some of the larger issues, but they just don't understand them enough. And so they become barriers to actually accomplishing change, more so than those that we know to be, that don't care, that are, nonchalant, indifferent, and things like that.
How do you describe the racial inequity in engineering and how shallow understanding affects that inequity you just mentioned?
I've actually been shifting to talking more about racial iniquity. And that's one of the points I'm gonna make is, it's not just that there are differences in the resources that people are getting, but there's these sinister dynamics around how Black people are treated and how other non-white people are treated. And so one of those are just who can be a knowledge contributor, who can participate in the classroom and how those contributions are accepted. And so shallow understanding would say, something like, underrepresentation. We don't have enough Black students. But when we talk about what's enough, it's usually some number that's based upon the oppression that we've experienced, as opposed to what would be, holistic and transformational, right? How do we qualitatively instead of quantitatively help students succeed?
It sounds like this issue with the shallow understanding is that it's not discussed enough. Why is that?
Typically, the discussion is around, did I try to do this? Did I did I want to have this problematic outcome? Or I was trying to do good? And so King's quote switches that conversation and says it's not about people who have goodwill. It's actually about understanding the underlying issues that are being manifest in the problem that you're discussing.
So more so talking about the systemic issues.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so what can be done to tip the scale of inequity and establish a more equal opportunity among engineering education?
So I feel like one of the things we have to understand is the role of race and racism in the United States in particular, and anti-Blackness more broadly, or even anti-Blackness in this country. But Black institutions have been supporting Black students for a long time and doing that well. And so one of the things that would change that is to give them the resources that they are due, right? Things like the 1890, I think, Morrill Act was supposed to provide resources to Black institutions for engineering programs, but those resources have never equally been distributed. And so, restoring those type of things, one step to get us where we need to be.
So bringing that into everything you're doing here at ASEE, how would you summarize the impact and importance of ASEE?
I would say it's a platform that allows us to have these conversations. In traditional engineering, like the civil and mechanicals, they focus more on the technical conversations of content, but this gives us a space to talk about the more educational implications around how we're teaching and what the content is.
Okay, and is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Continue to do the work that you've been doing for your career, and we don't need you to try to build a career in diversity, equity, inclusion. We don't need you to add this as like a sprinkle on ice cream. Just stay in your lane, and allow those who want to frame their work around this, to do that, or follow them as opposed to trying to have them solve your problems.
James, thank you so much for your time and your unique perspective. Let's head west and visit the University of Southern California Viterbi School of Engineering, where students learn to become engineers before they can drive a car.
The Usc Stem Program is kind of very new and innovative. In fact, it's one of the very first times that a preschool program has been federally funded for research in STEM education. Children in early childhood are fascinated by technology and making things. We're going to play on that through play and work with them on learning engineering design as a very young child. And we're going to teach their teachers and their families how to inspire them and to make them safe while they're learning technology, using the internet and playing with robots and things like that.
It's crucial for educators to know how to implement this successfully in the classroom.
We will use this program to provide equitable and safe access to technology across the nation and beyond, so that children from all walks of life will have access to developmentally appropriate use of technology, thereby equalizing the playing field.
As ASEE starts to wind down, we can't let our thirst for innovation, our hunger for change, or our passion for education do the same. You want to know a little trick I found? Just picture where you'll be a year from today at 2023's ASEE in the city of Baltimore. Having trouble? Let me help you out.
It's been superb. It's been great. It's been touching, and I want more of this. I want to, tell people about ASEE so that we have more, more members even within the student division next time.
So I just finished my first year as a full-fledged faculty member. So getting advice from the people who have sort of gone before me and gone through the tenure process is a great sort of resource that I plan to take back with me.
Gotten many new ideas by coming to the conferences and the exhibit halls, and I've added that to my curriculum.
I've made a couple friends. I've interacted with a few people who I know I will be reaching out to for further research, and it's been a great platform to do that.
By being able to come here, I'm able to network with other professors at other universities, learn how programs are different between universities, and take pieces home with me that have been able to help me improve my teaching all the way from when I was an undergrad teaching assistant to now that I'm a graduate research assistant.
Just open my eyes. I was doing my own stuff in my little man cave. I say, okay, I'm doing this is all good. We'll look at other people. Oh, this is so great. I can do this. It's much better than I do.
It's given me a community where I feel like I belong in terms of meeting professionals from engineering education and who care about things that I care about too. So it's really given me a sense of belongingness.
Thanks for watching ASEE TV.
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 Thank you for watching ASEE TV.
Thanks for watching ASEE TV.
Thank you for watching ASEE TV. Thank you.
Best one yet.
Well, that's it for us at ASEE TV. The past few days have been filled with innovation, inspiration, and information. A whole lot of information. But as we return home and digest everything we've learned, let's not forget the reason we came together in the first place. To learn from and teach one another to build a better future for engineers to come. Take what you've learned, bring it to your students, your faculty, your friends, your families. Do on a daily what you came to ASEE to do. Teach the knowledge, but be the student. Forever learning, forever growing, forever engineering, forever educating. I'm Iris Perez. I'll see you next year. ASEE TV is your source for everything engineering education. Be sure to catch ASEE TV on TVs at the Minneapolis Convention Center, in select hotels, and of course, you can always find us online at the ASEE website, YouTube, and Twitter.